Episode 2: The Architecture of Fear. You spent 3 years rebuilding your life, and then you saw their name on your phone for 1 second. And here is where your heart stopped. It wasn't love, it wasn't even missing them, it was the sound of a boundary failing. It was the scary realization that despite the new job, the new city, and the miles between you, they still own a key to your basement. They still have the power to disturb you. In astrology, we call this the eighth house. But in your real life, it's just the junk drawer, which is of your soul. It's where you hid the version of yourself that wasn't perfect enough for your parents. And today, we are going to find out why you're still guarding a door that was locked 40 years ago. Welcome to episode 2. So let's start. Now, Arjun stood in his father's library in Prayagraj. The air was cold, the kind of cold that only exists in houses where the truth is never spoken. You know, the heavy air, the cold air. You cannot say the truth. So right now, Arjun is experiencing a karmic tussle. Inside him, Mars, 8th house Mars, it's screaming. It's the fighter. It wants to throw a chair through the window just to feel the sun. It wants to scream, why was I never enough? Mars is a fighter. 8th house Mars always gives you immense courage and bravery. But Saturn is the guard. It's the cold hand on his shoulder saying, shh, keep up the image. Be the architect. Be a good son. Don't embarrass the family name. So you see the tussle? Mars is screaming that no, I need to see the truth. And Saturn is saying, no, relax, be patient, behave civilized. Okay. Now, when Mars and Saturn fight in your eighth house, life feels like a 24/7 interrogation. You aren't just living, you are surviving a cold war inside your own skin. Mars is always pushing you to see what's there, to see the reality, but Saturn is telling you to be patient, to behave, to be cool, just uh, be carry the image that you have made. Okay, now you're surviving a cold war inside your own skin, basically. Now you see the lies in people's eyes before they even open their mouth. You can sense them. You have night vision for betrayal. You can see the betrayal coming. So Arjun looked at the blueprints on his father's desk. All his life, his father told him, engineering is a foundation. Art is just a hobby for people who want to starve. So you see how passion has been made a hobby for people who will starve and not exactly the profession. But behind a loose brick in the library wall, Arjun found a hidden envelope. Inside were rejected art school applications from 1985. His father's name was on them. So you see, his father was also into arts. He wanted to go in that direction. Now Arjun had an intense monologue with himself. He was whispering, he didn't push me into engineering to save me. He pushed me there because he couldn't stand to see me succeed at one thing that broke him. He couldn't stand to, see Arjun succeed at one thing that broke him. Let these words sink into your soul. My career isn't my success. It's his revenge on his own failure. I've been building his plan B for 30 years. So, do you realize the kind of intensity these words have? Arjun had a realization that his father pushed him towards engineering not because he wanted to save him, but he wanted to, you know, not see him succeed in something that has broken him. It's very intense, it's very deep. You need to let these thoughts sink in. That's how astrology affects your life. Think about your own life. Is that a stability? You're so proud of actually just a cage your parents built out of their own disappointment? Are you the architect of your life or just the tenant of their trauma? You need to ask this to yourself. In that envelope, there wasn't just rejection, there was a painting, a woman with wild hair and eyes like a storm. A woman who was definitely not Arjun's mother. Arjun realized his father's disciplined life, the so called disciplined life, was a lie. He didn't love the rules. He used the rules to punish himself for a love he was too afraid to fight for. So, when you love, you need to fight. If you don't have courage to fight, that's not love. This is what I call the guilt tax. This is what we can refer to as a guilt tax. Why do you feel like a criminal when you spend money on yourself? Why do you feel heavy every time you go back to your hometown? It's because you are paying the interest on a secret your family buried. This is the eighth house speaking. There is always something hidden for which you are paying. You are the one carrying the luggage for your trip your father was too scared to take. The walls which his father couldn't broke. The walls which he always considered as safety were his cage. He couldn't gather that courage to just go out of those walls or break them. It was Arjun's courage, and today he realizes it. Arjun found a receipt of a plot of land, a secret his honest father kept for 4 decades. He drove to the outskirts of the city. No house, no trees, just a patch of dirt. But as he stood there, he realized. So he drove to the outskirts of the city. No house, no trees, just a patch of dirt. But as he stood there, he realized some things aren't buried to stay hidden, they are buried to grow. Again, Arjun undergoes an internal monologue. The walls are down, the perfect family is a lie, and I'm going to dig until I find what he loved more than us. So, this is a deep realization, a stinking realization that okay, there was something that his father loved more than the family, more than him, more than his mother. And so he was now digging into those secrets. So this is a very intriguing point, a turning point in the story. So in our next episode, Arjun starts to dig, and what he finds under the earth will make him wish he had never looked behind that loose brick. So there is something hidden, which is more, which will add more layers to the identity his father had, to the cage his father has stayed in. So, it's all about seeing the unseen here. So, guys, let's meet up in the next episode and understand this guilt tax in a more deeper and intense way. I'm sure you're understanding how this eighth house affect your ability to see the unseen, and that's how you can navigate through life. This is probably the biggest strength an individual can possess when they see the unseen. If you can read the betrayal in somebody's eyes before they speak the words, then it becomes your strength. Think about it. Okay, guys, take care. Bye bye. See you in the next episode.